Right, so here's the plan for today. Kiran sent me a challenge via Twitter DM asking me to build a React and D3 drill down pie chart, whatever that is. So I've decided to try doing it in 45 minutes. Gonna set up a timer here. This may or may not have something to do with how much time I actually have to try this. So, starting the timer, and we're going to see if I can get this done in a code sandbox in 45 minutes. And we're going to start with finding out what exactly is a drill down pie chart, because I've honestly never heard of that before. So he
Hello
has.
friends,
Whoa.
my name is Chaitanya.
Okay. We have a YouTube video. Let's see what this does. I think. So it looks like an example here of how it behaves. Alright, so it's a pie chart. When you click on it, you go deeper into the data set with. So it's like every time you click into one of the arcs, you get more details about, I'm assuming, about what that exact arc is doing. So let's open up a code sandbox and get started. So, well, this is so zoomed in. Let's zoom out, create React sandbox. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so it's easier for you all to see what I'm actually typing. Code sandbox, let's see. Come on, reload the page. Why is the page not loading anymore? That's weird. Okay, got the page. We're going to fork this so that we create a new project, and let's write down, what did we say this was going to be called? Drill down pie chart in React and D3. Cool, so we got that. We're going to also need a dependency, so we're going to need at least D3, and let's add styled components as well, because I like styled components for writing CSS, and I think styled components make it easier. It's just a helpful thing to have hanging around. Let me adjust the camera a little bit. There we go. Alright, so hello code sandbox, drill down pie chart in React and D3. Great, got that. And now let's create an SVG element. Let's give it a width of 500 and a height of also 500 pixels. And inside we're going to say drill down. We're going to draw a drill down pie, and we're going to pass in a data set. So this is going to have to be some sort of tree-based data set, because we need each node to have more children. So we're going to, let's create a function called generate data that generates random data for us. Then we are going to we need a component called drilldownpie.js. This component is going to import React from React, and then it's going to export default drill down pie, and we're going to create the drill down pie. Const drill down pie equals, for starters, it's just a component that takes some data and returns. Let's start with a grouping element. So the way I usually do these things is that I have a grouping element that transforms to a particular X and Y position. So you can think of it as just positioning our entire pie chart based on coordinates that we pass in via props. So we're going to say translate to $x and $y, like that. We also need to take X and Y from props. Drill down pie is not defined. We gotta say import drill down pie from /drill down pie. There we go. And now we need to define generate data, which also doesn't exist right now. So we're going to say function generate data, and let's put it at the middle of our SVG. So if the SVG is 500 times 500 pixels, we can say this is going to be x250, y250, so that it shows up in the center of our page. And let me make sure that I'm actually streaming. So this says that I'm uploading and that everything is a-okay. If you can't hear me or the music is too loud, please say so. I can't see you. I can see that there's some people watching. Hey, the Riz. Wow, I didn't know people still wrote in lit on the internet. Cool. So generate data. Let's say how many data points do we want? 10. Let's do a random number of data points. So we're going to say okay, we're going to start with D3 range. So import asterisk as D3 from D3, and we're going to hey Elias Shafluk. Wow, I do not know how to pronounce it. Shafluk. I think it's Shaflok. Shaflok sounds more like it could be. Where is that last name from, Elias? So D3 range from 0 to, let's say, math.round of the. Let me check if D3 has a random number generator that generates whole numbers instead of decimals. That could be useful. I know that D3 comes with a bunch of examples, API reference. I know it has random generators. I just want to make sure. Random uniform, log normal, bytes. Okay, we don't need those. Neither. Oh, from Peru, nice. I've never been to Peru, but I've heard it's really cool.
Amazing.
Yeah, my girlfriend says it's amazing. So we're going to go up to, let's say, somewhere between 0 and 10 data points for each thing. Math round and let's do seal so that it starts at 1 instead of at 0. So let's do times 20 D3 range, and then for each one so what do our data points have? Okay, let's do it this way. Say const n equals how many data points we get. Then we go from 0 to n, and we map index. Let's see, what kind of numbers do we want? We want each, I guess we want it to be some sort of percentage from 0. Actually, we can just do a random number, and then pie charts are going to figure it out for us, because D3 comes with a pie generator, so we don't really have to think about it that much. So D3 range n.map, I takes a thing, and we get, let's just do math.random, or should we try one of the random Bates? What is a Bates distribution? Let's see if that does anything useful for us. Oh, random uniform actually works pretty well. Let's do that then. So we're going to say n is D3 random uniform from 1 to 10, and we call that. Then we create D3.random. Let's do a random normal distribution, and we just execute that. So random normal gets us the random generator, and we return that. So each one of those will have, let's see, it's going to have a value, right? So that's the value, and then okay, D3 nor. So yeah, let's start with that, and then children is going to be generate data. Yep, that should work for us. And we need to make sure that we don't call this. Right now we've created an infinite recursion, which is not a great idea. So let's say generate data of 4 levels. Let's do level, and we say level -1, and we only generate children if level is bigger than 0, we generate the children, otherwise we return an empty array. Cool. Now let's say const data equals generate data 4 levels deep, and we console log that data so that we can see that it works correctly. So this should also be passing in the data. And let's see, we get 3 elements, value, some weird value, and then we have I guess the value, it would be much better if the value was, I guess normal values can be negative as well. Let's absolutize that. So we're going to say math.abs of the random normal number. So now we're going to have only positive values here, which is a-okay with us. Great, cool. So we got that. We're generating the data set and we're passing it into Drilldown Py. So now in the Drilldown Py, we're going to start with making it work. We're basically going to start with a pie chart that works for a single, what was I gonna say? Import asterisk as D3, so from D3. So we're going to make a pie chart of a single layer of our thing, and then we can go from there. Import asterisk as D3 from D3, and we're going to take our data. What does the data look like? It's just an array, right, of objects that have values and children. Perfect. So we're going to create a, let's say, const pi equals d3.py. And what does d3.py take? I always forget, or actually I don't forget, I just try not to memorize the entire d3 API, because I find it much more useful to memorize where the API can be found and kind of have a loose reference for things that exist. So d3py is a py generator. What does it take? It just takes the data, value takes the value. Okay, we're going to need that one. Sort, we don't need the sort. Sort values also not necessary. Start angle is not something we need. End angle also not, and pad angle not either. So we can say d3py with a value takes the data accessor and returns d.value. Maybe give each data point an ID to make them easier to find, select, label later. That is a great idea. Let's do that. Each one of them is going to have a value and a name. So what we're going to do, let's give them an ID. The ID is going to be, let's do the IDs like this. It's going to be level, because that was a great idea, because we're going to need IDs to specify keys for each of them so that React doesn't get confused. We're going to say that that's level and index. Unexpected token, we need that. And let's give them a name, and the name is going to come from the Faker library. So Faker. Faker is a really great library because it lets you generate fake data. So let's look Faker.js. I always forget what I know Faker exists. I never memorize how it actually works. So we're going to look it up. Find name. Should we give them names, or what should we use? Address, commerce, company, database, date, fake, finance, hacker. Hackers. Let's use hackers. So how do we use it? Faker require Faker, so we say import Faker from Faker, and then we can say faker.hacker dot, let's say adjective ing verb. I have no idea what an ing verb is. Verb noun, let's do ing verb. So what is this data set going to look like? So each object now has an ID and a name backing up. Generation, cool. Backing up. Okay, they need to be unique, or they need to be more unique. So let's find something that databases collation, date, finance, hacker, helpers, image, internet, lorem, name, random. So Okay, thank you, Duriz. I did not know that's what ink verbs were. So I know that the Faker library for Ruby has the ability to guarantee uniqueness of what it generates. I don't think this one does. So instead, we're going to use internet usernames. Internet user name, and let's see if that gives us something slightly better. Harley Gobla, Jenna 2, perfect. That's gonna work for us. So we go back into Drilldown Py, we generated a pie. Now what else do we need to make a pie? I always forget. We're going to have to create arcs, but right, so it's going to create a bunch of data for us, which is perfect. So we take the pie and we say, right, so for each entry of the stuff that d3py returns, when we call it, so let's see, I'm going to write console log py of data. This should give us, see, it creates objects that have the original data embedded in them, and also they have an index, the value, start angle, end angle, and pad angle, and these happen to be the exact values that we have to pass into an arc generator. So we're going to say, for each of our grouping elements, we go through py of data map, and that gives us the, let's call it a d argument, and we're going to say arc, and we're just going to splat in the d as a, what's it called, basically as all of the props. So it's gonna give us start angle, end angle, and so on, I think. I wonder if it would make sense to just use, let's do it this way, arc data equals d, and then in the arc data, should we just call it, let's see, arc, I know the d3 arc is here, let's see, pi's areas arcs, d3 arc, I just want to make sure that it actually makes more sense to just call it. Yeah. So we're going to, for our arc, we're going to say the path is going to be arc of d, and that's going to be our path definition. So we're going to say const arc equals d3.arc with the, let's say, inner radius of 5 pixels and an outer radius of, actually no, it is going to be, to make more sense to do this inside the arc thing. So we're going to say arc data equals d, and then we go into const arc. This is going to be another component that we use. So the arc component is going to take care of a single slice of our you'll see, of our pie chart. So we say const arc equals d3.arc, and we say inner radius is 5, outer radius starts, let's say 50, 100, let's do 75 pixels because it seems to make sense to me. And we're going to return a path where the d argument, so d is the path definition for a particular path, for a path that specifies the shape. We're going to just call arc on our arc data, and this should give us, voila, we have an arc generate. So we have a pie chart. Let's make this 15 so that the pie chart looks a little bit better. Now the next thing we need to do is use a, let's do some color to have so that we can tell them apart. Cool. So how do we define the colors? Let's import styled from styled components, and we're going to say const path equals styled path, where the fill color is red at first, so we should now see the whole thing as red. Now instead of making it red, we're going to use props, which are going to tell us which level we're at and which index we're at. So this is going to be from the ID, but let's make it easier, and instead of just using the ID, let's say level is level and index is I, level index I, and we're going to use that to create shades of colors. Yeah, so let's see, how do we do that? Let's try taking, can we do props.level of d3.color. Let me check. I know d3 comes with some color scales, and we can use color schemes. Scheme category 10, that seems perfect, so we're going to use scheme category 10. I don't like that one. Let's use d3 scheme accent or scheme paired. 12 categorical colors represented as blah, pastel, scheme pastel 2, scheme set 1. Should we do, let's do scheme paired, that one looks cool. D3 scheme pair of props level. Let's see if that works. New. So it's not props. How do we styled components props? I know this is a thing that styled components support. I just always forget how to use it. So if you're looking at this and you're wondering why I'm looking so many things up, please know that it is okay to look a lot of things up. So props function. Props dot d3 scheme pair is not a function, it is actually an array, isn't it? Scheme paired, and it is a read-only array, so we take props dot arc. Actually, let's do it this way. So we take the arc data from our props. See, we passed it in. Arc data comes in as props. We take arc data, and then we read arc data.data.level, and that should give us no. Cannot read property data of undefined. Okay, let's just do props. Hey fuzzy buddy, how are you doing this fine evening? Let's try console logging the props, console log props, and let's see what it says. So props have the D parameter. Oh, I'm an idiot. Let's do it this way. Props. So where I got confused, my computer's starting to be slow. Let's do props.level. What am I missing? Props.level. So my computer is being slow right now, but where I got confused is that we're passing some values into the arc component, but I need to pass those properties into the path component to be able to use them in styled components. And fuzzy buddy, I'm actually doing pretty well, I would say. Having some fun with D3, which is a rare treat these days. Okay. So, right, they're all of the same level. Let us instead use the index. So props data index, and here we're going to say index. Bam. So now we're using different colors for this same thing. Right? Now the next thing we can do, let's actually, should we make it even bigger? What about 105? There we go, that looks nicer. So we now have a pie chart that has, what was I gonna say? It has a, wow, Hey Architect Dev, how are you doing tonight? So we have a pie chart with colors. The next step is going to be, what did this one here show? Aha, we need to be able to mouse over them and get it to pop up, become a little bigger. So let's do that one next. So we need to do mouse over and let's say cursor pointer so that it looks like it's clickable. Okay, now it looks clickable. That's perfect. Cursor pointer and let's say stroke 1 pixel, stroke black. There we go. Does that make sense? I think that actually looks pretty nice with the black stroke. Way too cold. It's way too hot. How hot is it where you are? Ah, and we need to give keys or here we need to give them a path. So we're going to say key d.id. So that's going to take care of that error. Perfect. All right, so we got that. Now let's make it, when we mouse over, let's make it bigger. So we're going to say, what are we going to say? Let's say const radius and set radius equals use state that starts with 05, and we say use radius and then on mouse over. On mouse over we say mouse over. On mouse out we're going to say mouse out. Okay, so then we say function mouse over set. This one is going to set, let's just use these ones. So yeah, let's use function mouse over, set radius 155, and function mouse out is going to set radius to 105. Okay, let's see if that works. Use state is not defined, so we need to take use state from React. Cool. Okay, that is obviously going way too far. We need to make the Graz, Austria. It's 25 Celsius at 8 a.m. Holy shit, that is crazy. Although I read somewhere that Europe is going through a giant heat wave right now, and it's going to be up to 47 Celsius in some places. Okay, so this is working, right? Let's make the inner radius go yes, okay, that's what we're gonna do. We're going to have a so how do I make this useful? I accidentally pressed the dictation stuff. So radius, set radius, use state at 105, and instead let's call it a radius add and set radius add, and we're going to start it at 0. So it's going to be 15 plus radius add and 105 plus radius add, and we're going to say set radius add on, when you mouse over it goes out by 20 pixels, otherwise it goes back down to 0. So let's see how that works now. So now it looks like the slice is coming out, which is pretty cool, I think. Okay, so we got that, and it works pretty well. Great. Now the next step, we said we need to make something happen when we click on this. Actually, what about like this? Okay, that looks better, right? Okay, so we got that. Now the next step is going to be what happens when we click on this. So what should happen when we click on this? We need to basically, we need to replace it with, let's see, how much time do we have? It says 15 more minutes. Well, so when I click on one of the slices, we need to go into that part of the drill down. Now let's see, how do I do that? That is a good question. So this is where Kiran, I think, got stuck. So let me think. I'm gonna click on it, and when I click on it, we need to tell the drill down pie to go one level deeper. So we need to be able to tell the drill down pie which one we are. So we need to sort of have a recursion of some sort. Basically where the data becomes children. So we need to tell it, okay, so on click, we're going to call the parent function. So on click is going to be drill down, and we're going to take the, yes, drill. Oh, actually, can we do it on click up here and we just pass it in? So on click passes in the on click method that comes from props. Scroll up, on click, and then on click here. So on click is going to be drill down into the index. So this needs to be a method that drills down into the current data point. So then function drill down like this. Let's console log data, and let's see, if I click on this, we console log it. Perfect. So then what we gotta do is, yes, okay, that's going to be great. So we're going to use a, it's going to be a little messy, but I think it's going to work. So we're going to create a state that, so we're going to copy the data that goes into our component into state, and then that is going to help us change which data we're rendering and drill into it. I'll show you right now. Let's see. I think I know how to figure this out. So we're going to say const of shown render data, rendered children, render data, and set render data is going to be use state that starts with data, right? So we're going to, here when we're doing the pie, we're going to use render data instead of normal data, and this is still going to look the same, except now when we click drill down, we can say set render data, and we can say render data of, we are drilling down into the current d dot index. Yes, so index render data. So if we take an index, this one, then we want to render the children. So we are changing render data to render data of render data dot children of index. Right? Now let's see if that works. I have no idea if anything happened. Okay, let's do console log index, and let's see if that actually works. Click 0, but it didn't actually re-render, did it? Let's do index and render data children of index. So I'm clicking on the 0th index, and why isn't it rendering? Why isn't it? Cannot read property 0 of undefined. That's what I'm doing wrong. So it's actually rendered data of index.children. Yes, I'm an idiot. Okay, let's try that. So we rendered it, and I click on it. Haha! See, it started changing. So I can now drill down. That's perfect. So drilling down works. Now the next thing we need to do is make sure that our colors stay relatively consistent. So we've got drilling down to work. Each child in a list should have a unique key prop. They do have a unique key prop. What is Twitter telling me? Okay, so we are drilling down. So drilling down works. It's not the smoothest, but it works. So now what do we do? Yeah, what do we do? The next one is going to be keeping the colors consistent. So how do we keep the colors consistent? We keep the scheme paired based on the level. So initially the 0th level is just the thing. So props index, if props.level equals 0, then we take D3 scheme paired of index. Otherwise we take Brighton. Is there a Brighton or a Lighten? Lighten, no. D3 colors. Let's see if it has a brighter. Perfect. So it has a brighter and a darker and a displayable. Returns a brighter copy of this color. If K is specified, it controls how much brighter the returned color should be. If K is not, perfect. So we're going to use brighter colors, which means if it doesn't exist, let's see, props level, let's pass the level in here as well, argdata.data.level, and we say props index, otherwise it's D3 scheme paired of how do we know what the previous thing was? Okay, let's do D3 brighter of brighter K. How does this work? Oh, we get the color and then we say dot brighter. Let's see if there's an example that I can use. So color RGB D3.color. Okay, so D3.color, then we say brighter by props.index, but let's give it the 0th one first. If props level is 0, ArcTechDev asks if I often return to Slovenia. I don't actually. Well, it depends on, is the first level 1? No. So what is the first level? What was I going to say? Yeah, I go back to Slovenia, I think probably about once a year. So yeah, it's about once a year that I go back, and that's about it. I don't manage to go back more than that. Let's see what the levels are for the initial thing. So value level is 4, index is 0. So that means that oh, right. We start with level 4 and then we're going down. If level is 4, then we use those colors. Otherwise, we brighten them. Cool. Yeah, I mean, Slovenia is pretty nice, but I'm pretty busy here in the US and it's kind of hard to go back all the time. It also gets pretty expensive to keep doing that too much, so I try not to do it too often, and like I think once a year is kind of enough. I could go more often, but it's just a lot of work to go there and it gets pretty expensive. So now we need to figure out how to maintain the index from which we came. How do we do that? We can do that in the data set. So when we're creating the data, we gave generate data and prev index. So generate data, previous index is going to be undefined at first, and then we go level -1 and the index, and we say prev index is prev index. So we go back into here and we say props.prev index, which we are going to pass in as prev index equals argdata.data.prev index. Now let's see if that works. Let's reload again. So let's do it again. Okay, so let's try. Why is d.id not working anymore? I know I'm specifying keys. Are my IDs repeating? They shouldn't be. Okay, so I click on the red one. Okay, that worked. That kind of worked. Let's try brightening by 1/4 of the index. So we go to 4 by 1/2 of the index. So red B. Okay, what am I doing wrong? So my computer, I think, just managed to basically give up on life. So yeah, you see, I'm no longer, Code Sandbox isn't keeping up with everything that's going on anymore, which is unfortunate. But if I go to purple and I click on it, we kind of get, it's kind of semi-okay. So okay, that's kind of working. I still don't understand why it's complaining about the key prop, because we are passing in a key prop that is definitely unique, created by Drilldown Pi. Okay, so I click on that and we get the blue colors, and then I click on this one and we get green colors, which is kind of okay. Yeah, my computer is pretty much trying to take off. So let's see, how are we on time? I have 1 minute and 45 seconds remaining. So we are drilling down. Let's make it so we can also drill back up. So we're going to say, how do we do that actually? So we're going to need a circle in the middle. So in the middle, we're going to have a circle that is at x equals x and y equals y, and this circle is going to have a radius of 15. Oh, it's cx and cy. Let's see if it shows up. And let's say on click of this one, we're going to run drill up. Yes, so function drill up of whatever. Let's see, console log hi. Let's just see if I can click in the middle now. fill equals black. Why is the circle not showing up? Am I getting an error? Access to fetch? No. Oh, so the circle is showing up here. Like that. Will that make it work? Okay, cool. So we got the circle, and let's take out the fill. Okay, I ran out of time, but I'm going to try just finishing this part, and then I'm going to call this a good enough prototype. It doesn't have animations, but maybe we can add those on Sunday or maybe Friday night. So let's see, how do I drill up from a data set that I have? Aha! We're going to use the previous data. So we're going to say const f updata and set updata equals use state, which is going to start with nothing. We're going to set render data, and we're going to set up data with just the current render data. Yes, so set up data with the current render data, and when we click drill up, we say set render data becomes set up data. But that's only going to let us go back one level, isn't it? So if we go here, we can now new drill down py component, got confused. Now let's try that again. Okay, I don't know right now how to do that, so I'm going to stop. We finished the 45-minute time box, and we got a roughly working thing. So we got a pie chart that we can drill down into on, let's say, Friday evening or maybe Sunday afternoon. I don't know yet. On one of those, on either Friday evening or on Sunday afternoon, we're going to go back to this example, and we're going to add transitions and drilling back up the data set. So I think this is great for 45 minutes. And yeah, thanks everyone for watching. I hope it was interesting. But now I gotta go. Bye guys.